So okay. Be'ezus Hashem, today's daf is daf samach. So we're gonna just to cover the Mishnah, okay, of Nun Tes Amud Aleph, not just to cover it, just to review it. So it's very important to know that when a man writes a ksuba to his wife, he's obligated in 10 things, but she is obligated to give him 4 things. The 4 things that a woman is obligated to give to his wife, I mean, you use 4 things, is the Maaseh Yadayim. We'll discuss what she has to work for him. If she finds anything on the street, let's say a woman finds a diamond ring on the street that belongs to the husband. If she brings a piece of property that belongs to her to the marriage, he gets to eat the rental income. That's called Paris. And of course, when she dies, he inherits her. But one of the things that we're discussing over here is what is the obligation, the Maaseh Yadayim, that the woman is obligated for the husband. Okay? The woman is obligated. That means he doesn't have to hire somebody to do it. She has to do it. So the Mishnah says, these are the following work. You could expect this from the husband, from the woman. We used to say, if you know Yiddish, KKK. Kinder kochen and cleaning. I don't know if you yeah, like so good. And Nacha K is kvetchen. But the Mishnah says she has to toichenes. She has to actually grind the wheat. And it doesn't mean grind the wheat. She puts it through the machine, unless it's a hand machine. But she has to bake, which is these are difficult things because you have to make the dough also. Chabeses means she has to wash the clothing. Mivasheles, and she has to cook to him. Umanika espana. If they have a child together, he doesn't have to hire a wet nurse. She has to nurse that child. Matzaas loy hamita. She has to make the beds, make up the house. And this is a key word. V'oisa batsemer. If he has sheep and he's shearing the sheep, the wool from that sheep, she has to turn it into fibers, into strings, which he then sells. Not that he's making clothing with that. She has to sell. We'll learn more about that. But she has a certain amount of tzemer that she has to do. She has to, she's not going to be busy cooking all day. She's going to work with making these, turning the wool into fibers. The Mishnah says, let's say she's a rich lady and she actually brought into the marriage one shifcha, one maid with food. Then she doesn't have to grind, she doesn't have to bake, and she doesn't have to wash the clothing. Shtayim, if she's a rich lady and she brought in 2, she doesn't have to cook for him, and she doesn't have to nurse his child. Shalosh, if she brings 3 maids, she doesn't have to make them beds. She doesn't have to make the wool. In other words, that means basically all 7 items that she's supposed to do, she doesn't have to do anymore because she brought into the marriage 3 maids. Now, but technically, she does have to. Let's say he sends her on a message, go to the post office and drop something into the mailbox, or get me something from the attic. She has to do that. But Arba, once she brings in 4 maids. Yesheves b'katedra. She sits on a throne. She doesn't have to do anything. So that's what the Tanakama of our Mishnah knows. Of course, she has to do dvarim shel chiba, which means she has to, she has to wash his hands and feet. To do things that are more intimate of a marriage. But beyond that, anything that's run errands. Once she brings in 4 maids, she could sit on a throne. Reb Lezer says that's not good. Even if the woman brought in 100 maids to the marriage, you force the lady to work. She has to work with the wool to make it into fibers, to make it. Why? If your lady does nothing, that will bring her to do znus. She'll do an adulterous relationship because she's going out of her mind because she has nothing to do. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says, if you make a neder to your wife, she shouldn't work anything. That means even if the husband said, I don't want my wife to work anything, and he says that I'm never going to benefit from anything she does, he has to divorce her right away and give her ksuba, because shabatala, not doing anything, it brings to going insane. And so you can't require a woman to go insane. She has to have something to do. We're going to see more about the machlekes between Rab Lezer and Rab Shimon Gamliel in the Gemara. But today's Gemara is discussing about manika es bana. That means we require her, as part of the job, is that she has to she has to nurse the child. Now, the Mishnahs that we're going to learn, we're on the bottom of the page, Nun Tes Samed Beis. I'm just going to quote from the Brisa. The Brisa says that what happens if a man has a child with a woman, a baby, and this Garsha, they got divorced. So she has no shibud, and she doesn't have to do anything for the man. So the Mishnah Brisa says, according to Beis Hillel and what we say, that if the baby recognizes the mother, that means if the baby is old enough that it knows who its mother is, we'll see what that age is, a few months old, then she can say to the husband, now it's your kid, you should hire a wet nurse to somebody else to nurse this kid. No, she has to nurse this kid. But noisin loschara, the husband has to pay her wages for nursing this kid. The koifen forces her, uminikasa, and she has to nurse this kid. Why? Why can't you hire somebody? She wants to go back to her career, and they ask Sakana because it's dangerous. Once the baby knows who its mother is, it's a dangerous thing to ask the baby to start nursing from a strange woman. So that's what him says. Now we go to the top of the page, the Daf Samach. Ad Kama. I mean, that's really supposed to be Mei Kama. From what age does a baby know its mother? So that it really only wants to, for the most part, nurse from its mother. 3 months. When the baby turns 3 months old, it recognizes its mother. Although, like a mother will say, oh, after 1 week, this baby recognizes me. It's not true. It's the Gemara says, Rav says it takes 3 months for a baby to recognize who its mother is. Shmuel says, no, it's younger, even after 30 days. The Gemara is going to question this. It can't be. But the Gemara says, Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Yochanan, 50 yom. It takes 50 days. Okay, so we have 90 days. We have Rabbi Yochanan who says 50 days. And we have Shmuel who says it's 30 days. The halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan, who said that after 50 days, if the baby is 50 days old, then in case he divorced his wife, he can force her that she should be the only one to nurse this child. Because once the baby recognizes its mother, then it's dangerous to actually request from the baby to nurse from a strange woman. So the Gemara wants to understand the Shi'urim. Bishlam Rav Yochanan, according to Rav and Rabbi Yochanan, Rav said the Shir, when a baby starts recognizing its mother, it's 3 months. Rabbi Yochanan said 50 days. Kol chad v'chad ki churfei. It depends on the precociousness of the child. According to Rabbi Yochanan, sometimes you can have a quick baby who you can tell it recognizes his mother after 50 days. But Shmuel, ki hai gavla mi mishkachet lo. Is it possible for a baby to recognize its mother after 30 days? It's impossible for that to be. So the Gemara says, you're right. Rami Bar Cheskel, Amar, and Rami Bar Cheskel came from the yeshiva of Shmuel. He said, he said, don't pay attention to all these general rules that my brother Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel. Could be that Shmuel said this, in the learning, but that wasn't his conclusion. So when Rami Bar Cheskel came from the yeshiva, he said, Hachi Amar Shmuel. This is what Shmuel said, Kol Zman Shemakira. As long as you recognize it depends what age it is. So if it could be, if you have to be able to test it out, maybe the baby, it takes 50, 60 days for the baby. Once you see that it recognizes the mother, that's what we're talking about. It can't be that it's 30 days that it recognizes its mother. So the Gemara tells a practical story. There was this mother who got divorced from her husband, and the husband wanted to force the mother to nurse the child, but the mother wanted to go back to work. She didn't want to nurse this kid. So can we force the mother to nurse the child? So Amalei Rav Dimi Bar Yosef, so Rav Dimi Bar Yosef said, Zil Bedaka. Let's check her out. Check to see if the baby recognizes who its mother is. So Azil, they went. Aisva Badari Danashi. They made a lineup of women, like, a lineup of all these different women. Ushtale Lebron. They took this baby boy. And they brought it to each one of those strange women. When he got to its real mother, it turned its face in looking at this person. So it recognized, you can tell, it started to recognize who its mother is. But the woman hid her eye from the baby. Perhaps, she was a strong woman. She didn't want to nurse this kid. So she tried to push her, turn the other direction. So Shmuel said to her, right? Because the Gemara says, who else to the Shmuel? So Amallah, Shmuel said, Netaf Einayach, lift your eyes, Kum Dari Bach, and take and nurse your child. To your child, this kid recognizes you. You can't ask this baby to go to somewhere else to nurse. Now the Gemara asks, Suma, Layalenu, if the child is blind, Manayada. How can a blind child recognize its mother? It doesn't see her. Amar Rav Ashi says, Berecha, it can smell its mother, uvatama, and the taste of the milk. So it can recognize if it's milking from its mother or it's not. And that's how a baby who's blind will recognize. Okay, new Gemara. How long, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, how long does a baby nurse from a mother? So the Rabbanan, it was taught in the Brisa, Yoinik Tinik V'hoilech Ad Esen Rabba Chodesh. Until 24 months, it's okay for a baby to nurse from its mother till it's 24 months. Now, says the Brisa, something shocking. The Kamba Elach, let's say it nurses after 20 months, Kiyonik Shekets. It's like it's eating, it's nursing on an insect. In other words, it seems that if it nurses after 20 months, 24 months, it's not kosher. The milk coming out of the mother is not kosher. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. We're going to discuss that in a moment. So says Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Yeshua says it's a little bit longer. Afila arba v'chamosh shanim. A baby, a kid, can nurse from his mother till 4 years old, even 5 years old, depending on the health of the baby, of the child. Perish, but once it weaned itself off, even if once it weaned itself off after 24 months, the chozer, and then it wants to come back to nurse, it's as if it's eating something not kosher. It's as if it's eating an insect. So what the Gemara just got through saying is that milking from a woman, drinking the milk, is like eating something not kosher. Amar, so we learned from Brisa, the Kamba Elach Kiyonik Shekets. It's if it's beyond that, it's as if you're eating something not kosher. So the Gemara asks a question, Uraminu, I'll ask you a contradiction. Because there's another brisa that says the milk of a human being is kosher. Yochel, I would have thought, the brisa begins, Yochel, I would have thought, the milk coming from a human being that walks on 2 feet, Tameh, should be not kosher, Vidinhu, and I have a kal v'chomer that tells me that's not kosher, Uma behema, just like let's say an animal, let's pick an animal, a pig, right? Shehikalta b'magoah, your one is permitted to touch a chazer, a pig. You don't become tamei, but you're not allowed to have the milk of a pig, of course, because it's a tamei animal. Adam, a human being, when a human being is tamei, let's say a lady is a nida, you can't touch her. Certainly, you should be strict on her milk. You can't drink her milk. So I would have thought that the milk of a woman, you're not allowed to drink it because it's just like we have a kal v'chomer. Talmud Loimer, so the pasuk, there's a pasuk that says, Esa gamal kimal geruhu. The camel is a unique animal, which it brings up its cud, but its hooves are not split. Why does we say who? And therefore it's tamei. What is the extra who over there? Because the pasuk continues and says tamei who. So who means who tamei. Only this type of animal is tamei, and its milk is tamei. We darshan ve'ein chalev mahalche shtayim tamei. The milk of a human being is not tamei, and therefore elatar, one is permitted to drink the milk of a human being. So again, right over here, you could stop and say, we have a question. Why can't the child, after 24 months, nurse from his mother? It's kosher. But we just have a pasuk that says it's kosher. The brisa continues. Just to finish the brisa, I would exclude that the milk of a human being is kosher, because I see that by kosher animals, the milk are kosher. Milk of a cow is kosher, so the milk of a human being is also kosher. But I would think that the blood of a human being you're not permitted to eat. Which the truth is, you are permitted to eat the blood of a human being. It's the blood of an animal that's usher. And I might think that the blood of the human being should be asur shushava b'koil, because the blood of all animals you can't eat. So I'll say the blood of a human being you also can't eat. So Talmud Loimer, so we have the same pasuk. Who tame? Only animals you're not allowed to eat the blood. The ein dam mahalchishtaim tame. The blood of a human being is not asur to eat. Elatar, it's permitted to eat. Rav Sheshes says, you don't have to separate yourself from it. You don't have to make chumras and say, "Oh, I'm not going to eat it." You could eat it. So the bottom line of this brisa is that the milk of a human being is permitted to eat. So why does the brisa say that if you nurse after 24 months, it's kiyonik shekets, as if you're eating an insect? And says the Gemara, loy kasha. That's not difficult. Hard the parish, hard the loy parish. Hard the parish means that if the milk is actually in a cup, the human being milk is in a cup. So nobody knows if it comes from a human being or if it comes from a cow. Then it's permitted. Ha deloy parish. But nursing from a human being after 24 months, that's not permitted, because people will say that just like the human being, you're not allowed to eat the human being's flesh, right? It's tameh. You can't be cannibalism, and you're permitted to eat the milk. So a person might think that although I can't eat the pig's flesh because it's tameh, I might think I could eat the milk just like I'm allowed to eat the human milk. So therefore, Chazal don't want you to eat the milk nursing directly from the milk. The milk you can't eat. That's what the Gemara says. So now the Gemara says v'chalufa b'dam. The opposite is by dam. By blood, if it's in a cup, you're not allowed to eat it. If it's a human blood that's in a cup, you can't eat it. But if it's still in your mouth, you're permitted to eat it. The Tanya we learned in a brisa, dam, blood, shabagabe kikar. You have blood that's, let's say, on a loaf of bread. Garurai, you have to scrape it off. V'oichle, you can eat the bread. Shebein hashinayim, but if the blood is between your gums, nobody sees it. Moitzah, you could suck it. And you don't have to be concerned because it's blood of a human being is okay. Amama, we learned previously. Rabbi Yeshua says, Afila arba v'chomei shanim till 4 or 5 years old. Says the Gemara, then it's permitted. But Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, Rabbi Yeshua afila chavilosei al kaseifa. Even if your bundle is on your shoulder, that means even I think what the Gemara is saying is even if the child could be older, that means even if if the child could carry some heavy items, the child could still be permitted to nurse. So it's mashma from the brisa that it's even after 5 years old, it could still nurse, it's permitted to nurse from its mother. So the Gemara says, no, idi chad shiur, it's one shear. Up until maximum 5 years old, is a child permitted to nurse from its mother. Amar Rav Yosef, halacha Rabbi Yeshua, the halacha is like Rabbi Yeshua, that the limit is 5 years old. Beyond that, a kid is not allowed to nurse from his mother. Again, what the Gemara said before, sucking the milk out of the mother is isser, like a gzeira. So it's almost like you're nursing tameh milk. If it's in a cup, then it's permitted. But anyway, Tanya, we learned in a brisa. The new Gemara, Tanya, we learned in a brisa. Rabbi Marina says, Goineach yoinik chola b'Shabbos. Goineach is somebody, le'aleinu, he has a heart ailment, and it's causing him a lot of pain. So for some reason, I'm not sure what the benefit is, but if you would suck goat's milk, if you drink goat's milk, it eases the pain. So on Shabbos, yoinik chola b'Shabbos, you're allowed to nurse milk from the goat, directly from the goat on Shabbos. Now, on Shabbos, let's say you're not allowed to take, let's say, an orange. I can't slice an orange and squeeze an orange and make orange juice on Shabbos. Why? Because it's mefarik. It's like a threshing on Shabbos. So one would think one's not allowed to squeeze a goat's udder, whatever, and squeeze milk out of it. That's true. But because it's like squeezing the orange. However, going over and sucking the milk out of the goat directly is like a mefarik kala achariyad. It's like doing it in a strange way. And when you're doing something in a strange way and you're under stress and pain, chachamim permitted to you. That's what the Gemara says. My time, what's the reason? Because yoinek mefarik kala achariyad. When you're nursing, it's like you're threshing in a non-usual way. Normally, to draw milk, you squeeze the udder, but you're like sucking on it. Because you're in such pain, and for some reason, I'm not sure why, but the goat's milk will ease that heart pain. Lo goes rabbanim, the rabbanim will not make a gezerah. They used to sell kosher. They started it a little bit last year, selling goat's milk in the stores, but nobody was buying it, and it spoiled quickly. So here in the local stores, they don't carry it anymore. Amar Rav Yosef, halacha kaber marinus. The halacha is like Rabbi Marinus. Tanya, we learned in the Brisa, Nacham ish Galia. This is very interesting. This person is Nacham. We never find him in Shas. His name is Nacham, and Ish Galia, he came from France. So he's a Tana who actually lived in France, which is odd at that time of Jewish civilization. He says, Sina, a new case, Sina sha'olabai kashkashin. You have a leader, a gutter on a house that came clogged. Now, if the gutter gets clogged, then the roof will have the water from the rain will collect on the roof and will leak into your house. So if this gutter got clogged with twigs, you're allowed to squash the twigs with your feet to create the hole, the opening, so that the water should go down the gutter. B'tzini, you're allowed to do it privately b'Shabbos ve'nechoshish, because if you're not going to do it, if it rains on Shabbos, it's going to cause a flood into your house because the water is going to collect on your roof. My Thomas, same idea. You're fixing the gutter in a backward manner. And if you're going to lose money by having it leak into your house, the Rabbanan did not put any restriction on you. Rabbi Yosef says, halacha ki ish Galia, Nacham from the Nacham from France. The halacha is like Nacham from Galia. Gaul, that's what it is. Perish. We learned Rabbi Yeshua says that if you stopped after 24 months, you cannot return. Even Rabbi Yeshua says if the baby stopped for a little while, then it cannot return. The kama, how long of a while does the baby have to stop that we don't allow it to return to nurse? For 3 days. Others say, Rabbi Yehuda bar Chaviva learned a brisa in front of Shmuel, and Shmuel probably agreed with this brisa, shloisha yamim. So not that Shmuel was the author of the statement, but somebody brought Shmuel a brisa, and Shmuel did not argue on that brisa. So that's why if the baby stopped for 3 days, it cannot return to nurse. Tana Rabbanim, the brisa is taught another story. Menekes shemeis bala b'soich esem rabah chodesh. A menekes, a nursing woman, that her husband died within 24 months, she should not get engaged and not get married. Getting married, certain, but the chiddush is not to even get engaged. We go to Samach Hamad Beis. Why shouldn't she get engaged? Ad esrim va'abo chodesh divrei hameir. We have 24 months. She should not get married. Why? Because she's a nursing mother. If she gets married to somebody else, maybe right away she'll get pregnant again. And because she gets pregnant, she's going to have to stop nursing this baby. And this new husband is not going to care so much about this baby, and therefore he's not going to supply, and it's dangerous for the baby. You see, for a man, for a woman who's nursing, she could stay with her husband, because even if she gets pregnant during the 24 months and she can't nurse anymore, the father of the child will provide eggs and milk from other sources. But if her husband died, now she's getting married to somebody else, that other man is not going to care for this baby. And if she stops nursing because she got now pregnant with his new kid, so that he's going to let this kid die or whatever. So therefore, we prohibit a lady who's nursing from getting married for 24 months. Rabbi Yehuda Mata. Rabbi Yehuda says it's permitted. B'shmein asa chaydish. After 18 months, you're permitted to get married. So Rabbi Meir says, Rabbi Meir is more strict over here, 24 months. Amar Rav Nasan Bar Yosef, hein divrei Beis Shammai, hein divrei Beis Hillel. This is the same argument between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai, Amrim Eser Rabba Chodesh. Beis Shammai is like Rabbi Meir, who said 24 months. Beis Hillel, Amrim, Beis Hillel says, Shemayin Asa Chodesh, you have to wait 18 months. Okay, so that's the Beis Hillel is more lenient. Amar Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says, I could even be even more lenient. In other words, even if you're going with the opinions of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, and Rav Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, but I'll say Ani Achreya. I'll make even a more of a leniency. The Divrei Ha'im Esra Rabba Chodesh, even according to Rav Meir, that you have to wait 24 months to get married. Mitoris li Nase be'Esra be'Echad Chodesh. She can get married at the 21st month because it'll take anyway 3 months for her to get really pregnant with the new husband. And therefore, she could already get married after 21 months. So you knock off another 3 months. The Divrei Ha'im b'Shemayin asa chaydish, according to the one that said you have to wait 18 months, didn't mean really 18 months. You can get married after 15 months. Why? Because milk does not become spoiled or unuseful by the mother, only after 3 months of pregnancy. So even if she got pregnant right away with the new husband, it would take 3 months for her milk inside of her to spoil. So therefore, actually, if she got married at 21 months, if the milk spoils at 24 months, well, that 24 months, she's going to wean off her child anyway. So that's why you deduct always 3 months. Amma Ula said, Halach Rabbi Yehuda, that the halach is like Rabbi Yehuda, and that you wait 15 months or 18, but you deduct 3 months. Ma'ukva said, I guess, Ma'ukva wanted to marry a lady who just lost her husband, and she was nursing. So I went to Rab Chanina, and he permitted to me to marry this lady after 15 months. Says the Gemara story. Arise da Abaya, a worker that worked for Abaya, sharecropper, also Lakama Abaya. He came to Abaya, his boss, and he asked, Mahu le'oris b'chamisha chodesh. Can I get engaged to a lady who's nursing a child, who just lost her husband right away? It's within 15 months of her nursing a baby, right? 15 months of her having that child. So he would say permitted, right? One reason is Rabbi Yehuda, halacha Rabbi Yehuda. The halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, you're supposed to wait even 18 months. But Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, halacha is like Beis Hillel, 18 months, which is 15 months. So that would be another reason. He gives her 4 reasons you should be permitted. But Ula even said, halacha Rabbi Yehuda. The Ukva said, Ukva got a heta from Rab Chanina to even get married after 15 months. And all you're asking me is to get engaged with this lady. So what Abaya is heading in the direction that this this worker of Abaya, certainly could get engaged to this girl after 15 months. All these reasons, because we paskin like Rab Meir, paskin like Beis Hillel, halach is like we paskin like Rab Yehuda, we paskin like Beis Hillel, and Ma'ukva even put it into practice. So you would think everything is set. He also commented Rabbi Yosef, when they came in front of Rabbi Yosef, Abaya expressed that he just had a question and he permitted somebody to marry after 15 months. Rabbi Yosef was very upset at him. Amalei, Rabbi Yosef was the rabbi of Abaya. He's the teacher of Abaya. Amalei, but he said, you're paskin wrong. Rav Shmuel, the Amri Tavayo, Tzrich Laham te Esra B'Chodesh. You have to still wait 24 months. We paskin like Rab Meir. Rab Meir was the strictest, but whenever Rab Meir is strict, because he put a gezerah, a decree, we always have to follow Rabbi Meir. So you have to wait 24 months. Don't count the day that the kid was born because you're not nursing that day, and the day that you get engaged. So Rabbi Shmuel actually paskin like Rabbi Meir. So you got it wrong. So Abaya, Royat Abbasre, the buyer started to run after his worker, Tlose Parsi, for 3 parsim, 3 miles. V'amarle Parsa B'chali, he even had to go through sand to try to catch up to him, and he couldn't reach up to him. In other words, the guy moved on in life, and Abaya never caught up to him. And Abaya now realized he paskined wrong. He gave him a heter to get married after 15 months when his Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef, told him, you got it wrong, because there's a Rav and Shmuel came out with the final rule here that you have to wait 24 months. A mother has to wait 24 months before she gets married. Omer Abaya, so Abaya learned a lesson from this. Hi Milsa Damar Rabbanim. The rabbis teach us a wisdom, a piece of wisdom. Even an easy question. Can I put an egg in yogurt on is it fleischiks? Of course, an egg is not fleischiks. And if somebody asks you, can I put an egg in yogurt? A person who's living with his teacher in the same area that his teacher should not give the heter to do so unless he asks his Rebbe, even though he knows the answer. In other words, don't paskin questions that have an easy answer unless you ask your Rebbe. Not because it shows like you're insulting the Rebbe. It's not true, because if it's an easy question, why not? You could answer it. But you should know, you're not going to have siyata d'shmaya. You're not going to, heaven's not going to be on your side, and you're going to forget something. Abaya says, I always knew that Rav and Shmuel said that you have to wait 24 months, and I forgot. But when it came to practice, I forgot that teaching of Rav and Shmuel, and I started paskening that you all have to wait 15 months. So I got it wrong, because I was in the city of my Rebbe. I should have asked him. I should have deferred the question to him. One more piece of Gemara, and then we'll stop. Gemara says, Panarabonim, Nosam benolim inekas oigemlalti, oimes, muteris li nose beyad. Let's say she gave her son, she hired a wet nurse, or she weaned her child, oimes, or the baby died. Let's say the baby died. Then, muteris li nose beyad. Then she's permitted to get married right away. We're talking about a woman who lost her husband, right? And now she's a nursing baby. And she hired somebody else to take over the nursing, or the baby stopped nursing within 24 months, right? Or the baby died. So she has no reason to stick around for 24 months. So then the Brisa says she's permitted to get married right away. That's what the Brisa says. So the Gemara says, so it's a Brisa that says you're permitted to get married right away. So Rav Papa said, let's paskin like this Brisa. But there was an old woman who was around at the time of Rab Nachman. I had a similar story. I was a nursing woman. I wanted to get married again. Maybe my baby died. Va'asali Rab Nachman. Rab Nachman said, I'm not permitted to get married right away. So the Gemara says, Eini, because maybe I hired a nurse, but Rab Nachman gave me no permission. So the Gemara says, Eini, that's not true. But Nachman Sharlo, who Lebei Resh Galusa, there was a woman in the house of the Jewish governor who was called the Resh Galusa. She was part of the family. She hired a nurse to take over nursing her baby. And Rav Nachman gave that lady permission to get married right away. So you see, Rav Nachman did paskin like the Brisa, that if you give your baby over to a nurse, to somebody else to do the nursing, the woman's permitted to get married right away. And says the Gemara, no, that heter was only given to the Reish Galusa, because Shani Bey Reish Galusa, the Reish Galusa is different. When they hire a nurse, a wet nurse, to take over the nursing of the baby, the loy hadrabe, that nurse is not going to quit on the job. And therefore, Rav Nachman said, because you're from the Jewish governing family, so therefore you're permitted to get married right away. But a regular person, even a lady that hires somebody else to do the nursing, perhaps that nurse is going to quit on her. So Rav Nachman did not give a permission for such a woman to get married again right away. Amalu Rapapi. Rapapi said, there's another reason why you should not allow this woman to get married right away. Again, her baby died. So why can't she get married right away? Right? Why can't she get married again? Papi says we should have another reason, because we have another reason. You should always make a gezerah, because if you allow this woman to get married right away, you're going to come to allow a woman with a baby to get married right away. And where do you see that concept? The Tanya we learned in the Brisa. We know that a woman that lost her husband, she could be an adult woman. She lost her husband. She has to wait 3 months before she gets married again. because we want to know that if she gets married again, to who, if she gets pregnant right away, who the father is. Is it the father from the previous marriage or the father from the next marriage? So, but let's say a woman was Leila Chabesavia. She was already living by her father's house. The husband and wife separated. So she certainly did not get pregnant from her former husband. So her husband moved out of the house. Let's say her husband was in jail. Or her husband went overseas. Or let's say her husband was old or sick. Or she could not have children. Was kind of old, islandess, or she's somebody who never matured. Or she's below bas mitzvah. Right when her husband died, she miscarried. Or somebody who cannot have children. So all these women, there's no reason to assume that if she's going to get pregnant, well, some of them can't even get pregnant, but even if she would get pregnant, the child would be from the first husband. All these cases presume that if the husband's not around, or the husband moved out already months before, or the husband's in jail or sick, still, we always paskin like Rab Meir when he makes this restriction, because you have to wait 3 months. Why? Because you might say every woman is not going to have to wait 3 months. If you start giving leniencies, people are going to say no woman has to wait 3 months. Rabbi Yossi disagrees. She could get married right away. There's no reason to make her wait. Rav Nachman said the name of Shmuel. You have to pass him like Reb Meir when he comes up with a restriction. So also over here, we have a rule that you have to wait 24 months for a woman who was nursing a baby. So now, even if she hired somebody, or even if the baby died, still we should make a gezerah that you should not allow this woman to get married less than 24 months, because people will say every nursing mother can get married within 24 months. So how are you going to permit this woman to get married in less than 24 months based on that brisa? Amalei. So who are we talking about? Rav Papa and Rav Hun, Grave Yeshua responded to Rav Papa, you're right, lava daitin. We didn't pay attention. And now the Gemara concludes with the halacha. The hilkasa. The halacha is mace. If the baby died, mutter, we allow her to get married right away. Gemalatu, but if the baby was weaned, stopped nursing, so you can't get married right away. Because we assume that the reason why the baby got weaned off so early, beyond 24 months, because the woman did it, pushed the baby away because she wants to get married earlier. So if the baby is not nursing from its mother, we still make her wait 24 months. But if the baby actually died, well, no woman's going to kill her baby. So then we give her a heter to get married even less than 24 months. Marbar Ravashi says, I feel a mace nami also. Even if the baby died, we assume we still make her wait 24 months. Dilma Katle, maybe she actually killed her own baby because she wants to get married. And she wants to get married. So that's why Hava Ugda was actually a story in the papers that there was a nursing baby, and the mother killed the chanate, and the mother choked the baby in order to get married to somebody else. So therefore, no matter what, Ramar Bar Rashi says we should make this woman make 24 months. But the Gemara concludes, it's not so. If a baby died, we let her to get married less than 24 months. That story in the newspaper, that was a crazy lady, insane lady. It's impossible for a normal woman to choke her own son. So if the child died, yes, we'll permit her to get married less than 24 months. But for any other reason, if she gave her baby to nurse, right, or whatever it is, we do not allow her, or the baby weaned off, we do not allow her to get married right away. Just like Rameir says, we have to wait 24 months. Okay, we will.